we want to welcome every one of you to the John Adams Courthouse. At this time, if you have a cell phone, a pager, a messaging device, we ask that you turn it to silent or vibrate. A cell phone, a pager, a messaging device, please turn it to silent or vibrate. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to the John Adams Courthouse. At this time, we're going to ask everyone, if you are able and if you are willing, to please stand so that the trial court honor guard can post their colors. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we ask that everyone please remain standing as the procession makes its way into the Great Hall. The Honorable Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Healey-Driscoll. Her Excellency, the Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Maura Healey. The Honorable Chief Justice Amy Lynn Blake, Chief Justice of the Mass Appeals Court. The Honorable Gabrielle R. Wooler-Hojan. The Honorable Catherine E. Hand. The Honorable William J. Meade.
Good afternoon. I'm Justice William Meade of the Appeals Court, and it's my great pleasure to be here today to celebrate Amy's bat mitzvah. It's hard to believe only 13 years have gone by. I'd like to welcome Governor Healey, Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, the Justices of the Supreme Judicial Court, the Justices of the Appeals Court, the Justices of the Trial Court, President of the National Women's Judges Association, Michelle Rick of the Michigan Court of Appeals, members of the Governor's Council, the Governor's legal team, members of the JNC, state senators and state reps, district attorneys, Amy's father, Arthur Silbert, Amy's husband, Richie, and her son, Max. Did I leave anybody out? I'm not very good at this. If I left you out, and you're important, raise your hand. Amy will take your name down and write you an apology letter later on. Before we go any farther, I will now have our Senior Associate Justice, Ariane Buno, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please remain standing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Yes.
You may be seated.
As you can see from the lineup, I am the thorn among the roses today. Before we start, I have a secret to let you all in. Amy's already been sworn in as Chief Justice. And she's now the first woman to be Chief Justice of the Appeals Court.
Now I know why there's tape.
Not everyone has a governor as a key grip.
It's not so swift. Hold on.
I think you got it.
You got it? Okay.
So Amy's our new Chief Justice, and being cognizant of the solemnity and the majesty of such an achievement, in her first official act as Chief Justice, Amy took away my parking spot. I'm trying to let that go. Let's get down to business. Amy asked me to be the MC for today's event, and I'm honored. But she told me I had to behave. I told her it was one or the other. She assured me if I were good, I'd remain on Governor Healey's shortlist for the next available seat on the SJC. So thank you. Thank you, Governor Healey. Rest assured, Amy has read all of my remarks, and these are the ones that made the cut. As I prepared today, I couldn't help reminiscing about a prior event when I was the MC for my colleague, Greg Massing, when he got sworn in. And at that time, Deval Patrick was the governor of the Commonwealth. I'm no longer worried about the things that I said or did that day because the statute of limitations has run. Today is a great day. We're going to usher in a new era of the appeals court. We'll have less an emphasis on metrics and stats and more of an emphasis on people and their well-being. When I say people, of course, I don't mean just the judges. I mean everyone at the appeals court, although I've been told that some of the judges are people too. As I prepared for today, I remember that Amy is from Peabody and that Kim Budd is from Peabody and that the late Paul Iacos is from Peabody. So I've arranged that from going forward, Peabody shall no longer be referred to as Tanner City, and it's Chief Justice City from now on. With that said, I'm still a little concerned about transitions. I'm a creature of habit, and I don't like change, but this is a good one, I think, and at the same time, as our new chief, I suppose Amy's going to have to give up some of her prior responsibilities and leadership positions she had in the court. One of them was she was chair of the committee of the appeals courts on travel and vacation planning. And I'm afraid she'll no longer be our chief court clinician. So we'll be looking for volunteers. Justice Rubin, if you're available, thank you. For Amy's dad, who always wanted Amy to be a doctor, I have another secret. Now that she's checked the Chief Justice box, next semester she's going to enroll in medical school. She's going to go at nights, so there's still hope. Oh, I have a late addition to my remarks that Amy hasn't seen. Here.
It's okay.
Okay, she nixed it. All right, so with that, I'll introduce our next speaker, and that is my colleague, Justice Catherine Hand.
Governor Healey, Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, Amy, distinguished guests who luckily for me, Judge Mead has already introduced, and most especially Amy's family and friends who are here to support her, prominently her husband, Rich, and their son, Max. This is a wonderful day, and I am very pleased to be here and to share it with you. Amy Blake's appointment to the position of Chief Justice of the Massachusetts Appeals Court is a groundbreaking choice and, in my view, an excellent one. We owe the governor, the governor's team, and the governor's council a debt of gratitude for the thoughtful work that went into selecting this choice. We also owe Amy our debt of thanks for taking on this additional layer of responsibility. As far as I'm aware, there's no template or formula for creation of an ideal Chief Justice, and likewise, there's no single skill that guarantees success in that position. There are, however, a panoply of skills without which a Chief Justice cannot be successful, and I'm going to go through all of them. No, I'm joking. And so I'd like to talk about 3 of them. The first one is having the ability to wear the crown of leadership, such as that is, lightly. It may shock you to learn that I have never been a Chief Justice. I have, however, worked closely with some excellent Chief Justices, and I can tell you that the job is not for the faint of heart, the easily exhausted, or those who believe themselves to be anointed rather than appointed. See? I know. No? Let's see, I can do that. Does anyone know Justice Wolahojan's building abilities as well as I do? I'm telling you, this is her wheelhouse.
Let's see if that works. Oh, good.
Fresh.
I would go onto this side.
All right. I'm going to speak quietly. All of you who are here, I suspect, know about Amy's fortitude and endurance. It's beyond question. And although I'm not much of a gambler, one thing that I would bet on is that the thing you would rarely find in Amy's calendar is white space. Even before she became the Chief Justice, Amy's job included not only the usual preparation of excellent and well thought through opinions, but leadership roles in almost every aspect of the appeals court, including its outreach, education, and mentoring programs. In addition, Amy is the first person that many of us go to when an unexpected challenge arises. When that happens, she does not hesitate to roll up her sleeves and help. And when she does that, any help that Amy gives is a gift. It's not a loan, if you know what I mean. This capacity for hard work is noteworthy, and I say that coming from a universe in which all of my colleagues frequently mistake fire hoses for drinking fountains. The work would mean less if Amy sought credit for it, but that's not who Amy is. Any success that Amy's involved in is the court's success. Any project that Amy's involved in is a group project. And what marks her out is her focus on having the goal being to elevate the people with whom she is working. And I think that's been one of Amy's defining characteristics, not just during her tenure at the appeals court, but for all of her working life. I'm reliably informed that as a lawyer, Amy was respected for her ability to find common ground even with her opponents, and her goal was a good result, not scorched earth or a spotlight. When she took the bench, it appears that she carried those skills with her and that the bar appreciated them. While she was on the Probate and Family Court, she was named the Middlesex County Bar Association's Jurist of the Year. Separately, she also earned the Massachusetts Association of Women Lawyers Distinguished Jurist Award. And it will maybe mean something to you, as it does to me, that the information that I have about Amy's award winning comes not from Amy, but from my Google searching, despite the fact that I asked her for that information. As my colleague on the appeals court and now as my chief, Amy has shown her respect for the power and authority inherent in the positions that she's held. She's also approached those positions not as entitlements, but as trusts. And that, I think, is exactly what we should expect from our leadership, and I anticipate that that's going to be a theme of Amy's tenure as chief here. The second quality that I think is essential for a chief is having a set of very big, figuratively, ears. Amy Blake is an excellent listener. She's one of the handful of people on our court to whom judges and court staff turn again and again to act as sounding boards and advisors. Her open door policy is the stuff of legends, and it's one of the first things that I learned about when I walked through the doors of the appeals court 5 years ago. I suspect that I'm not the only member of the appeals court community who sought Amy's guidance on whether or how to have a difficult conversation with a colleague, about how to make a graceful apology when I've put my foot in it, how to balance my work pressures with my family worries, and whether there's a nicer way to say thank you for your completely ridiculous comments about my beautiful and poetic draft. Amy's earned the trust of the court and those of us who work there in large measure based on her willingness to hear what we say and her ability to respond thoughtfully and respectfully. And the last point that I'd like to touch on is my belief that a Chief Justice needs to have the ability to bring people together. And that's particularly true in a court like ours, where all the work is collaborative and every one of our projects is a group project. If I could name what I think Amy Blake's superpower is, this is it. Exactly what goes into the cocktail of personal qualities and learned behaviors that make Amy so good at this, I can't tell you. I think it must include her energy and her enthusiasm for the work that we do, her courage as a decision maker, her willingness to collaborate, and her demonstrated record of following through on the promises that she makes. But I can tell you it isn't magic, and it doesn't come without hard work. The appeals court community includes approximately 110 people, all of whom want to see the court do its best work every day, almost none of whom have entirely congruous ideas about exactly how that project should be accomplished. The key, I think, to Amy's ability to inspire us as a court to pull together in sync and in the same direction is the listening skills that I've mentioned. As Chief Justice, Amy has the last word on a lot of what happens in the appeals court. And to her credit, she's been very clear about her interest in learning how her decisions impact the people who work in our court, as well as the people who are affected by the decisions we make. And more than that, she's already made affirmative steps toward that goal. I was reminded yesterday that Amy has been the Chief Justice for fewer than 9 weeks. During that time, in addition to a plethora of other tasks that she has undertaken, she's committed to and begun an ambitious schedule of one-on-one meetings to which she has invited every member of the court to attend. And my understanding is that she's already about a third of the way through the possible interviews. She's planned and scheduled our first ever all-court meeting that will take place in March. Amy has built on and enhanced the already robust internal mentoring programs we have for new judges and new non-judicial staff. She's reviewed and reorganized court committee assignments to ensure that more people can participate in how the court makes its committee assignments. She's guided the court through transitions, which, as we all know, can be fraught. We have had the ill fortune to lose 2 of our senior members, including our former Chief Justice, Mark Green, and Justice Jim Milkey. Their gain, our loss, I assure you. Amy has also helped us to welcome 2 stellar new appointments, Justice Gloria Tan and Justice Chauncey Wood. And these are just a few examples of Amy's commitment to recognizing and leading the people who compose our appeals court community. So a thing about me, I'm a jogger, and I only aspire to someday being a sub 10-minute miler. Haven't gotten there yet. But I love reading running magazines. And recently, in an article about distance training, I read a quote that said something like, if you want to go fast, go alone, and if you want to go far, go together. What I think Chief Justice Blake has already begun to show us is that together we can go efficiently and effectively forward. And I look forward to this next chapter of the appeals court history under her capable guidance. Congratulations.
Our next speaker is a graduate of the appeals court, and she's Justice Gabrielle Wolohojian of the Supreme Judicial Court. Justice Wolohojian has assured me that for my efforts today, I'm entitled to at least 1 denial of an application for further appellate review. So with that, I give you Justice Wolohojian.
Good afternoon, everyone. Governor Healey, Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, Chief Justice Budd, fellow members of the great Massachusetts judiciary, especially my former colleagues on the appeals court and my current colleagues on the Supreme Judicial Court, and a special shout out to the retired justices of the appeals court. I see you as a backbench back there. Elected officials and family and friends of Chief Justice Blake, including those who have traveled from out of state, and especially her husband, Rich, and her son, Max. In 2008, Governor Patrick had the great good sense to nominate Amy Blake to the Probate and Family Court, and he had the even better sense to appoint her to the Appeals Court in 2014. Those good decisions have now been joined by Governor Healey in appointing Amy as Chief Justice of the Massachusetts Appeals Court. This is a significant appointment not only because Chief Justice Blake's own accomplishments and merits, but also because she is the first woman to be appointed to that position, a moment of historic importance for the court. Picking good judges seems to me to be as much art as it is skill. It's a little like picking a good melon. You inspect the outside, you check for blemishes, you might shake it a little bit to see if there's anything rattling around inside that you should be worried about. You thump it here and there, and you maybe even take a sniff or two to see how it smells. But in the end, it comes down to a leap of faith, because you'll never really know who's going to be a good judge or a good Chief Justice until you see that person in action, doing the hard work of a judge in the courtroom, in chambers, as a colleague, and in bar and community settings, day in and day out, over the course of years. And that's what I have done with Chief Justice Blake. From her first day on the appeals court in 2014, I have observed Amy as her judicial mentor, her colleague, her friend, and perhaps most importantly, as her daily Wordle partner. And I'd like to take a few minutes today to talk about the judge and the person I've come to know and admire over those years, and to talk about the significance of her appointment as the appeals court's first woman Chief Justice. As far as I'm concerned, today's five-letter word is chief. Amy arrived at the appeals court as an experienced trial judge, having served on the probate and family court for 6 years. She was my first ever judicial mentee. Gotta be careful there. Between us, I may have gone a little bit overboard. Maybe it was the spreadsheets, maybe it was the lengthy new judge's manual, or my daily hovering to make sure she was okay, or the pre-sambles and the post-sambles, and of course, my excruciating editing of her drafts. Amy called these Christmas trees because the result was pages of green and red, but not really in a cheerful holiday sort of way. In any event, Amy survived the onslaught. And the truth of the matter is that Amy didn't even need a mentor. Not only was she an experienced judge and lawyer, she demonstrated from the outset that she is a remarkable person. She arrived at the court with natural good judgment, a drive to improve herself, a tremendous work ethic, the ability to engage immediately and profoundly with her colleagues and the court's staff, boundless energy and thoughtfulness, and a fabulous sense of humor. She immediately understood and wholeheartedly embraced the idea that an appellate judge does not only need to be a dedicated legal scholar, but also needs to bring people around to a cohesive and collective view. Appellate courts are, as Justice Hand mentioned, courts of collaboration, and those who can't or won't collaborate till a lonely field indeed. That is not Amy. She has, from the day of her arrival, embedded herself into the fabric of the court, not only on a human level, but also as a colleague dedicated to the well-being of the court as a whole. She has done this both internally and externally. I am thinking in particular of her work as chair of the Judicial Education Committee and her work as a member of the Personnel Committee, both central components of the court's strength. In the broader context of the judiciary, she has served on the SJC's Committee on Self-Represented Litigants, the Trial Court's Judicial Outreach Committee, and as liaison to the Juvenile Court and the Boston Municipal Court. She has also been a standard bearer for the Appeals Court in the legal community. She has served as co-chair of the Boston Bar Journal's Board of Overseers and as an associate editor of the Massachusetts Law Review. She is also a fellow of the Mass Bar Foundation. And as though all of that was not enough, she is also the District 1 Director of the National Association of Women Judges. And in addition, for many years, she served as an adjunct faculty member at the New England Law School, giving back to students some of what she received there as a student herself. I see threads of commonality in all of these activities, and the two main ones are education and community. While never losing her focus on the core responsibilities of being a judge, learning, researching, listening, and writing opinions, Amy has expended ceaseless energy on building community, fostering connections, and providing educational opportunities to those around her, especially her law clerks, who will themselves fill the ranks of lawyers and judges in years to come and carry on the proud tradition of excellence at the Appeals Court. Thank you, Amy, from your current and former Appeals Court colleagues, for all that you have done for our court. We know that you will make an excellent Chief Justice, and we thank you for being willing to take on this extra work and service for the benefit of the court. When I arrived at the Appeals Court, there were only 7 active women associate justices on the 25-member court. Justice Vuno had arrived the year before me and had become the 7th, and I became the 8th. So Justice Vuno and I were part of a small cohort, and one that had historically been even smaller. Going from 6 to 8 felt significant because we went from being less than a quarter of the court to inching our way to almost a third. We felt deeply connected to the women who had been appointed before us, including Justices Peretta and Drebin, who were the first 2 women on the court and with whom we were privileged to sit after we joined the bench. Unfortunately, over my next 16 years on the court, these numbers did not change much. There was a brief moment when there were 11 women on the court, and it felt as though we might finally come close to equaling the men in number. Something that law schools had achieved several decades earlier, by the way. But that did not come to pass, and instead we drifted downward in number and hovered around 9 for most of the time. Meanwhile, the women were pulling hard on their oars and participating fully and actively in the weight of the work of the court, leading and manning, or perhaps I should say womaning, all of the significant internal committees of the court, everything from the Personnel Committee to the Education Committee to the Workload Committee to the Workplace Engagement Committee to the Judicial Mentoring Committee and to the Social Committee. And for those of you who don't know, the Social Committee is the heavyweight in that list. Now, numbers don't say everything, but they do, I think, say something. And the court, like all institutions, works better when it does not feel monolithic. Diversity of experiences and viewpoints is perhaps nowhere more important than it is on the appellate courts, where our critical contribution is to help inform each other's thinking, bringing our differing views to try to help each other find the right answer. And it is against this historical context, 25 years after a woman was appointed Chief Justice of the Supreme Judicial Court, long after women have been named chiefs of the various trial court departments, 48 years after the first women were appointed to the appeals court, and more than a half century after the appeals court was created, that we are finally able to come together today to celebrate the accomplishments of Chief Justice Blake and her appointment as the first woman Chief Justice of the Massachusetts Appeals Court. It's been a long time coming. Thank you, Governor Healey, for allowing us to take this meaningful step forward in the history of the Appeals Court. It's a wonderful day, not only for the Appeals Court, but also for the citizens of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And congratulations, Amy. I know the court is in excellent hands.
Our next speaker is not from Peabody, but she's from close by. The Honorable Healey-Driscoll, Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth.
We do think of Salem as Greater Peabody, so I think, right, Paul? All right, there we go. Thank you, Justice Mead and Justice Wolhojan, Justice Hand, Justice Vuno, and all the honorable members of the Massachusetts judiciary who are here this evening. It's truly an honor to be here with the governor and with all of you on this historic occasion. I love when we have judicial appointments sworn in this building. Just take like 1 minute to look around. It's really breathtaking. We're in the John Adams Courthouse. We're on a stage in front of a sign that harkens back to John Adams as the architect of American government. Like today, knowing everything that's going on, this feels a little bit like balm for the soul, like a good place to be. So it's truly a privilege to be here with all of you and to recognize the elected and appointed officials who are here, as well as staff members from the court, family, guests, our outstanding legal team from the governor's office. And I'd also like to give special recognition to our partners in the Governor's Council. I know Councilor Ferreira, Councilor Iannella, Councilor Kennedy, Councilor DiPaolo, Councilor Jacobs are all here, along with 3 of our newest members, Councilor Tamisha Civil, Councilor Mara Doland, and Councilor Eunice Ziegler, and our former member, Councilor Eileen Duff. We know our new counselors have hit the ground running. We've already had multiple hearings and votes just in this first month, and I'm very privileged to spend most Wednesdays with members of the Governor's Council. And the governor and our team share a deep respect for the role that the Governor's Council plays in our system. I do have that honor of serving as a member of the council and chairing meetings and hearings, and I've seen up close how thoughtful and committed they are to this work. Our Governor's Council members spend time with every nominee, asking not only questions at the hearings, but also often extended personal conversations. They thoroughly vet all of the candidates and work to understand the skills and viewpoints, life experiences that nominees bring to this role. And in the first 2 years of our administration, the results of that partnership have been pretty profound. We have been able to date to have 51 judges confirmed and sworn in, with 6 more nominees currently in the process. That's a pretty good pace. We've appointed accomplished, dedicated individuals to each of the courts in the Commonwealth, including 2 to the Supreme Judicial Court, one of whom you just heard from. The appointments have been diverse in every possible sense of the word, reflecting the full breadth of experience in the people and the communities of our state. Today is yet another example of those collective efforts as we swear in Justice Blake to this historic appointment as Chief of the Appeals Court. She epitomizes the values that makes the Commonwealth special: her humor, her humanity, her commitment to getting it right, and to doing so with dignity and respect, as you heard from several of the colleagues who have served with her. So it is truly an honor to be here to witness this history today and to be a participant in the process, none of which would have been possible without the work I get to do every day alongside somebody I like, respect, and admire, who I know is committed to building a Commonwealth that's more affordable, more competitive, more equitable, and leans in every day with our team to make sure we're doing the same. We've got no bigger champion for Massachusetts than Governor Healey, and we wouldn't be here today without her leadership, her passionate belief in justice, and the work she does to ensure that what all of you do to build a better judicial system starts from a place of fairness and equity. So it's my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce Governor Maura Healey.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Justice Mead, for emceeing this evening, and to Chief Justice Budd, members of the Supreme Judicial Court, to members of the Massachusetts Appeals Court, members of the judiciary statewide, including retired judges and justices who are here this evening. It is an honor to be in the John Adams Courthouse. Also to be among members of the legislature, the governor's council, district attorneys, clerks, commissioners, members of our governor's legal office. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you as well to the Judicial Nominating Commission for the many hours that you all put in. To distinguished guests, thank you all for being here to celebrate this historic confirmation of Justice Amy Lynn Blake to the position of Chief Justice of the Massachusetts Appeals Court. We want to extend special greetings to Justice Blake's guest, the Honorable Michelle Rick. She is a justice on the Michigan Court of Appeals and president of the National Association of Women Judges. Thank you for coming here tonight. I'd also like to recognize the many members of Justice Blake's family who are here with us. Of course, her husband Richie and son Max, but we have brothers and dad and cousins and nieces and so many who've traveled so far, California, Florida. It speaks to your love for Amy, and it's wonderful that you were all able to make it here. I also want to recognize Chief Justice Mark Green. Thank you, Chief Green, for your stewardship of this court and your many, many years of service to the state over the course of your career. We thank you for that. And we thank the entire appeals court team. The LG named many. I want to give a special shout out to Monique Duarte and Gina DeRossi, without whom events like this could not go forward. Thank you. As governor, one of the most significant responsibilities I have is to nominate judges in this state. We are a state with a particular history as home to the oldest continually functioning written constitution in the world, as really in so many ways, as we'll celebrate later this year, the birthplace of this country, this great American democracy. I feel a particular responsibility to do my level best to bring forward for the people of this state the very, very best when it comes to the appointment of judges. I know that the decisions made by our courts have real and lasting impact on the lives of litigants and also on the continuing functioning of the administration of justice in our state, to the rule of law, to democracy. It's serious, serious business. So I thank all who are willing to wear the robe and do this work day in and day out. I thank all the court staff, the clerks, the court officers, all stenographers, everyone who is associated with our courts. It's really, really important work. And I think it's particularly important work in the moment that we are in our country. Today, we're able to continue that journey of justice here in Massachusetts through this swearing in. And it's work that I also just want to underscore happens every day in courthouses around our state, through every judge, through every decision on matters large and small. And I know that each of you who serve, every matter matters to the persons before you and to the lawyers who practice before you. And I appreciate that and, again, hold you in the highest regard. It's why I can say unequivocally, and you can take this back to Governor Whitmer, we do have the best judiciary in the United States. You have a good one, too. So for a judicial system to be really the best, it has to have the most skilled and thoughtful and compassionate judges that we can find who can best serve the people of this state and advance our historic universal cause of justice. It's our legacy. More important, it's our responsibility. And I'm thrilled to be able to be here in celebration with all of you tonight. And I know I have referred to her as Justice Blake. She is indeed chief. We know that. This is the ceremonial, so just let me play that out. You can keep a secret. Also, there is time to go back. No, okay. Justice Blake, you've heard, she embodies, I think, all the traits that one would want in a Chief Justice, based on her experience, her record, her reputation, and her temperament and personality. As you know, she began her career as an assistant district attorney prosecuting cases in the district court, then spent 14 years in private practice, and of course, as mentioned, was appointed by Governor Patrick in 2008, initially to the Probate and Family Court, and then in 2014 to the Appeals Court. When it comes to her record of leadership, I'm not going to go through all the committees and initiatives. Suffice it to say, it would be quicker to name the committees and initiatives that she has not helped to lead. But what I take from this is that in Justice Blake, you have somebody who shows up. And that's really important, that people show up for colleagues, for one another, and are willing to step forward and to serve in that way. And your record of service is really remarkable. I also appreciate that you have been a teacher and a mentor for students, for attorneys, for fellow judges on courts across our state, and serving, of course, as a faculty member at New England Law for the last several years. I also know that you have worked in close collaboration with justices in the trial courts, serving as a liaison to both the juvenile court and the Boston Municipal Court. And that's part of what makes our judicial system here function so well. I know that Justice Blake is committed to ensuring that the court remains rooted in the principles of justice and fairness upon which it was founded. I also know that Justice Blake is committed to adapting to the ever-changing needs and demands on the court and really on the circumstances of people in our state. We are so proud to have a leader of Justice Blake's character and ability step into this critical role. And of course, proud to say that in the first time in the Massachusetts Appeals Court history, a woman will serve as Chief Justice. I know that Chief Justice Blake will execute her responsibilities faithfully, diligently, thoughtfully. I also know that she will do so with humility, with compassion, with dedication, and with humor. And may you never lose your sense of humor, Chief. So on behalf of our entire state, I want to thank Justice Blake for the many contributions that you have already made to our judicial system, and thank you for the contributions that I know you will make now as Chief Justice of this great appeals court. Congratulations on this well-deserved appointment, and if you would kindly step forward so that I may administer the oath to you, I appreciate it. I brought the oath this time.
We have it.
Yeah.
It's been an issue.
Okay. Great. Where's the shot? Come.
Where do you want me?
No, this is
Right
great.
here? Okay. We're rearranging.
That's good. I just want to be by the mic. Okay, we're good. I'm going to stop. I just want to make sure you could see her. Okay, good. All right, if you raise your right hand, repeat after me.
I, Amy Blake,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts
to the Commonwealth of
and will
Massachusetts
support the Constitution thereof.
and will support the Constitution thereof.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I
I, Amy Blake,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all the duties incumbent on me
all the duties incumbent upon me
as Chief Justice of the Massachusetts Appeals Court,
as Chief Justice of the Massachusetts Appeals Court,
according to the best of my abilities and understanding,
according to the best of my abilities and understanding,
agreeably
agreeably
to the rules and regulations of the Constitution
to the rules and regulations of the Constitution
and the laws of this Commonwealth.
and the laws of this Commonwealth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I
I, Amy Blake,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
Congratulations.
I've cried a lot already. Thank you all. Today is an incredibly special day. While I may be the person standing here, having just taken the ceremonial oath of office, today is really about the people of the Appeals Court. The Appeals Court has 24 associate justices and a chief. But the real work is carried out by so many unsung heroes, the staff. And if you would allow me, when I mention your department, if you could stand, or those of you who are already standing, wave your hands. I'd like to recognize you. Our judicial secretaries, including my own, Kelly Palazzati, please stand. Our staff attorneys. Our court officers. Our administrative team. The hub of the court, our clerk's office. Our IT department, which now includes the governor. And our amazing law clerks, including all of my law clerks, former and present, who are here today. All of you. Thank you to each and every one of you. I'd also like to take a moment to express my gratitude to all those who support me every day and who do me the honor of being here for me today. Here I go.
in person or in thought, including my family, my colleagues, my friends, and especially my friends who are my chosen family. Many have traveled to be here today, to Boston in January, from California, Seattle, Michigan, Florida, New York. I feel like I'm in a This Is My Life movie, because when I look out in the audience, I see my childhood friends from Peabody, go Tanners, my University of Rochester College friends and sorority sisters, my New England law friends, my Temple B'nai Abraham family, my co-workers from the DA's office, the law firms where I practiced, lawyers I tried cases with and against, my neighbors, bar association leaders that I've collaborated with, judges and staff of the Probate and Family Court where I spent 6 incredible years. As many of you know, I'm passionate about the advancement of women in all areas, but in particular in the law. So I'm honored that my friend, the Honorable Michelle Rick of the Michigan Court of Appeals, who is the president of the National Association of Women Judges, has joined me here today with her daughter. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you to Judges Mead, Hand, and Wolohojian. You showered me with compliments that were greatly exaggerated. I don't think your marks could withstand rigorous cross-examination, but I listened to them as a judge must do, with an open mind, and I truly am touched by your words. Thank you to everyone at the Appeals Court and the Governor's Office who paid attention to every detail to make today something I will never forget. To my colleagues on the Appeals Court bench, thank you. I use the word colleagues, but you all know you mean more to me than that. This job demands so much of each of us. Yet no matter what challenges you faced in your day, each of you is always ready with a kind word, a suggestion, constructive criticism, and of course a joke, especially when you know I need it. You hold each other up, and I never cease to be amazed by your knowledge, your insight, your profound devotion to the rule of law, and your kindness. I have learned so much from each of you, and I look forward to continuing to do so. Last but not least, my family, without whom none of this would be possible. My son, Max. Max fills me with so much pride. He's carved out his own path, guided, I hope, by the values that Dad and I have worked to instill in him. My husband, Richard, my biggest cheerleader, who supports me in so many ways, large and small. My wonderful brothers, Dean and Adam, Adam's husband, Michael, my father, Arthur, the Blake family, Michael, Robin, Danny, Melanie, Jessica, and cousin Alan, my maternal aunt, Maxine, and her husband, David, and my family that I know is also watching in Florida. I couldn't let today pass without a special recognition of my mom, Jerry, who passed in 2012, but encouraged my brothers and me to always chase our dreams. Today, I am celebrating a significant personal milestone, and I'd like to share a short story with you that highlights this milestone in a very unexpected way. Earlier this month, my Aunt Maxine, as she always does, sent a group text to the family. This one was to honor my Nana's birthday. She would have been 108. And interesting, the text message included a snapshot from my Nana's yearbook. She wrote, "She can because she thinks she can." Sorry. It made me pause and wonder what my Nana would think about her granddaughter being sworn in as the first woman Chief Justice of the Appeals Court by the first woman elected governor of this Commonwealth. See, I do read those texts. How truly prophetic my Nana's words would turn out to be. Thank you, Governor Healey and Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, for your trust in me and for being the ones to deliver the final blow that shattered the Chief Justice glass ceiling. As you've heard, until today, the Appeals Court was the only court in the Commonwealth that had never been led by a woman. Thank you. In this moment, I'm reminded of something that Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, the first woman appointed to the Supreme Court of the United States, said. The power she exerted on the court depended on the power of her arguments, not on her gender. Those are powerful words. And while making herstory is important, it is the decisions that I will make in my new role as Chief Justice that are paramount to the success of the court. With that in mind, I would like to share with you what leadership means to me. It's about guiding the team to stay focused on delivering justice and keeping them motivated to give their best in achieving it. This is especially important at the appeals court, where the stakes are high and the consequences are significant. Leadership is about setting the stage for others' success and then stepping back and letting them shine. That is precisely what I hope to do as the 8th Chief Justice of the Massachusetts Appeals Court. Thank you.
Before we conclude today's ceremony, in addition to wanting to express my gratitude to Governor Healey and Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, and of course the Governor's Council for giving us Amy as our chief, I've reflected further, and I thought that maybe rather than the future appointment to the SJC, can you get my parking spot back? With that, we'll conclude the ceremony, and I'd like to all join us for a reception on the second floor.
Just have them wait.
Wait for the procession.